Right now, the Boeing 777X is slated to enter service in 2027, which is 7 years after it was supposed to enter service in 2020, and a whole 13 years since it was first announced in 2013. So depending on how you look at it, this airplane is pretty much over a decade delayed. Some of you watching this video probably weren't even born yet when this aircraft had just been announced. Like, imagine waiting your entire lifespan just for this airplane to enter service. I mean, at this rate, GTA 6 is gonna drop before the 777X. And that's just a fact. To understand what's actually going on with the 777X though, we're gonna need to understand the origins of the 777 itself, and why Boeing even decided to give the aircraft type this upgrade that has now become the most delayed project in the company's history. It all started in the 90s when the 777 was first introduced to replace aging trijets and quadjets. Of course, this was the time when twin-engine aircraft were the new thing. You know, Airbus was finally rolling onto the market with planes like the A330, you had the medium-sized 757 and 767, but Boeing needed something larger, something with a greater range, and that's when they introduced the 777-200. A huge wide-body airplane with lots of new technology and incredible range. I mean, it was pretty much a game changer at the time for Boeing, and it ended up being a huge success in the airline industry. As a matter of fact, the 777 was so successful that Boeing would eventually roll out a new variant in the 777-300, which was basically just a lengthened 777 with new GE90 engines, the most powerful jet engine in commercial aviation. And this airplane saw even more success than the original, with well over 800 airframes being delivered. Now, this all sounds great for Boeing, and it honestly was, until the mid-2000s when Airbus finally rolled out a competitor in the A350-900. Now, the A350-900 wasn't really that big of an issue for Boeing until Airbus released their own lengthened variant, that being the A350-1000, a new modern airliner that featured significant advancements in things like fuel efficiency. This new stretched A350 served as a direct competitor to the 777, and if Boeing wanted to stay in the game, they couldn't just sit back and let that slide, and that's where the 777X first comes in, also known as the 777-9. In the limited amount of time they had to create a competitor, Boeing opted not to make a new aircraft design from scratch, but to simply upgrade the existing 777 by adding new wings that can carry more fuel and even larger engines. Specifically, the largest engines ever seen in commercial aviation. What? I mean, the GE9X engines that power the 777-9 are so large that they're actually bigger than a 737 fuselage, which is just crazy to comprehend. In retrospect though, it sounds like a solid plan. All you're doing is adding new wings and engines to an already existing successful airframe, and with the project announced in 2013 and a target year of completion in 2020, surely Boeing would be able to finish the job on time, right? Well, that's where the issues first rolled in. The new wings for this aircraft were actually so huge that Boeing had to build an entirely new $1 billion facility to construct them in. Not to mention the wingspan of the aircraft being so large that the aircraft's wingtips would have to feature a never-before-seen folding mechanism to properly fit into airport gates, something that has become now synonymous with the 777X. Obviously, the 777X was also introduced around a time when Boeing was already busy building other new aircraft types, such as the already delayed 787 program that had a few miscalculated mishaps at first, and then of course the 737 MAX program that had just been introduced, also to serve as competition to Airbus with their new A320neo. However, unrelated to all of those other programs was the very first issue that would end up delaying the 777X program, that being the process behind binding the actual fuselage together. Basically, instead of using manual labor, Boeing took a gamble attempting to make the fuselage production of the 777X completely automated with robots, which ended up causing even more issues and dozens of defects that put the program steadily behind schedule. Nevertheless, the 777X issues would soon become the least of Boeing's worries following the infamous 737 MAX crashes in 2019, where two of Boeing's brand new airplanes suffered fatal accidents, completely due to faulty manufacturing. Obviously, Boeing was kind of forced to switch their focus away from the 777-9 in order to fix the MAX issues, and once the MAX was finally ungrounded in late 2020, the 777X was already past due, and what would come in the following years for the program would be more and more issues, ranging from uncontrollable pitching during a test flight, a ruptured fuselage, and most recently in 2024, cracks found in crucial engine parts, which would actually end up grounding the program for a brief period of time. Now, as of March 2026, these past issues have mostly been solved. But just a couple months ago in January, even more issues were found, likely delaying the project once again, with the 777X now sitting at over 6 years past its scheduled release date of 2020. The aircraft is now currently estimated to enter service sometime in 2027, but honestly, after all these delays, can we even trust that date? I remember making this video back in 2020 mentioning how I'd be back in 2 years for the 777X to be released, and here we are 6 years later, still waiting for it to enter service. I mean, there's even a whole bunch of rumors saying how the aircraft is going to be outdated by the time it's first delivered, and I mean, with the plane being delayed by 7 years, it's not even that outlandish of a claim. Somehow with all its issues, I swear this thing still ends up being at every big air show ever, like the Dubai air show or the Paris air show, but for some reason they'll do anything but display it on their home turf at an air show like Oshkosh, for example. I mean, Oshkosh literally has a thing called Boeing Plaza where they bring in a big Boeing plane every year to display. I mean, it's the perfect opportunity. Okay, I know it may sound like I've just been dogging on the 777X this entire video, but I'm telling you, if Boeing brought the 777X to my backyard over here in Oshkosh, I would be glazing it like a donut. I mean, one of these years they gotta bring it. Maybe when the fuselage isn't falling apart or, you know, there's no cracks in the engine. But anyway, I think the whole 777X story perhaps goes to show something about the modern day Boeing company as a whole, especially considering the original 777 was able to come out in just 5 years. And nowadays Boeing has taken over 13 years just to upgrade the aircraft. I mean, clearly the Boeing of the 1990s is no longer the Boeing of the 21st century. And I don't think it takes a genius to make that statement, but there's a lot of rumors on what actually caused this apparent downfall of Boeing. Maybe it was the McDonnell-Douglas merger or the 737 MAX issues. Do let me know down in the comments what you think of Boeing and the 777X project as a whole. But with all that said, I do hope you found this video useful or enjoyable, and thank you very much for watching.